let's go back to chapter 3, where we were like getting the area of a circle. And if the user entered a negative radius, we pretty much gave to the user an error message, right? So here we allow the user to enter the radius, and if the radius is negative, it's gonna set my flag to false, and then basically now that this is false, it's gonna give me an error statement. Okay, but I think it will be nice if we can come up with our own uh, custom error, right? So, for example, here, let me just go back to my different pieces of code. I have a bunch of here open, so I'm just going to close some of them. We have the creation of three objects. Right here you can see I have my main method, my try code, and then if the user enters a negative error, pretty much it's just going to throw an error that is going to be cached here. Okay, and notice that here I have an error of the invalid radius exception type, and this error technically doesn't exist, so I cannot have to create it myself. So it will be an extension of the exception class. So here I have a separate file that have my invalid radius exception, and you can see that it extends exception, right? So this is an error type. It's a subclass of exception, and then technically I have my data field, right? It's a class, and I have my constructors, right? So I have a constructor invalid radius exception, and it takes the radius, okay? So and then if the radius is negative, it's just gonna do this, right? It's gonna send a message saying um, you have an error. Okay? Now, and then basically that will be cache or cut or cached here. Okay, so let's see what happens. So when I create my new object, circle with custom exception, okay, I have to look for that class, okay, which is down here. Circle with custom exception. It's in the same file. So these are my data fields. Okay, I notice that now I have my constructors, right? I have two of them, and they throw my invalid radius exception, my custom class. Okay. So in this case, this one is the one that takes the argument of -5, okay, and the constructor might throw this error, right? So here you're declaring the error that you might throw, and then it's gonna call this method set radius. So when it goes to set radius here, okay, and this method might throw again my custom error. Now if error is greater than 0, then you set the radius. If not, you throw the error with -5, right? So now this error here, right, that you're throwing, right, you're creating a new object, okay, and it's gonna go through the constructor and everything. So the constructor is gonna be called, right? So technically this is the argument for my error type, right? So it's gonna say invalid radius -5, and then um, it's gonna set the radius, right? So this is all part of the object. Okay, so let's run this. Okay, so here you see that we have an error, invalid radius -5, right? So it went here, okay, and then technically just call this error. Okay, let me see if I make another line, and then let's go here. I'm gonna put -10. Let's see what happens. Haven't tried this myself. Okay, and then technically the code just it will get an error. It will come down here. Okay, and then it will just it will continue in this line, right? You see, it doesn't come back and create the second object. Right. Okay, so in this case, we just created a custom exception.